Still to come, a huge development in Prince Harry's battle against deportation. But first, it's time for Reform UK's Lee Anderson. Now, a gang of Bulgarian nationals has been convicted of Britain's biggest ever benefit fraud, pocketing over 50 million quid from the taxpayer. The 5 fraudsters have now pled guilty. There's some of their cash. If you're watching us on the telly, it's all right for us. Oh, they're just tossing it around the living room. Good stuff. They've now pled guilty after making thousands of false claims for universal credit over a 5-year period, using both real people and stolen identities to claim the cash. One of the suspects even managed to return to Bulgaria after his arrest before being extradited back to Britain. But it's not just these criminal masterminds playing the benefit system, with a staggering, wait for this, £11 billion of your money lost to universal credit fraud in the last 2 years alone. Without a hint of irony, Work and Pensions Secretary Mel Stride said, "I'm immensely proud of DWP investigators' work in collaboration with the Crown Prosecution Service to take down this organised crime group. Today's convictions underline our commitment to protecting taxpayers' money, and it is only right and fair that we bring to justice those stealing from the public purse." Right, well, look, also speaks to GBNews yesterday, Rachel Reeves said that Labour have their own tough plans to tackle benefit fraud if and when they enter Downing Street.
Did say they'd point to universal credit, where fraud and error cost taxpayers £5.5 billion a year. Why are you not going after benefit cheats instead?
Well, I think that it is important that we crack down on fraud, avoidance, evasion. But I think it's really important that we root out fraud wherever it exists, whether that is in the benefit system, because I want money to go to people that really need it.
Lee, Bulgarians here legally have pocketed 55 or so million pounds from the taxpayer as a total of £11 billion in universal credit fraud. What's going on?
You know what, Patrick? There'll be people watching this tonight absolutely furious, just about setting their alarm clocks, for 5 o'clock in the morning to go and do a shift and pay their taxes and do the right thing by their family and this country. Then you get this riffraff, and it's these Bulgarians going to scam us out of 50 million. This is just the tip of the iceberg, by the way. We saw that other figure there, 11 billion in the past 2 years. There's lots of people at it. And you know what? These Bulgarians, the Bulgarian government should be accountable for this rubbish that they send into our country. I know they're legally, but look what we're paying out for at the moment, Patrick. We've got illegal migration costing us, £10 million a day. You've got these idiots coming over committing all sorts of sex crimes and murders and horrible stuff that we can't deport. The taxpayers footing the bill for that. And then we see this benefit fraud from these Bulgarians costing, 50 million quid.
Well, it's the fact that they could get away with it for so long. I think the bigger picture is the 11 billion quid, as you alluded to there, over 2 years. I'm a taxpayer, you're a taxpayer. Most people watching this undoubtedly will be taxpayers as well. Sorry, but we need a refund.
Well, look, Mel Stride, I've got a lot of respect for Mel. I like the bloke, but when he's saying he's proud of the DWP for getting to the bottom of this, it's the DWP that's let this happen in the first place. Yes. They should hang their heads in shame. £11 billion of taxpayers' money in the last 2 years. I mean, it is absolutely astonishing. We're moving on now to something else that will get people going, because it's shoplifting offences. They've recently hit a record high, more than 1,000 shoplifting offences every single day. But despite this, the detection rate has dropped to a record low. In response, the government has today announced a £55 million crackdown on the scourge of shoplifting that is plaguing Britain's high streets.
Announced a strong set of measures to clamp down on retail crime. That's about a new offence, a brand new offence for assaulting shop workers, using facial recognition technology to catch perpetrators with CCTV, but also greater use of electronic tagging of prolific shoplifters. It's been warmly welcomed by retailers and police that I've spoken to today, and crucially will demonstrate to our shop workers that we've got their back, and also that we will do what it takes to keep our streets and our communities safe. That's what everybody wants. That's what we'll deliver.
Lee, you said what a load of rubbish then?
Patrick, it's 2024 and we have to come up with new schemes to catch shoplifters. These aren't the great train robbers. They're not the criminal brains, criminal masterminds. They're just low-life thieves that are going to shops and clearing the shelves and walking out in broad daylight. It's so obvious who these shoplifters are in communities like mine. All the police have got to do is turn up when the shopkeepers report them and go and arrest them. It's as simple as that.
And what do you reckon about this facial recognition? I mean, he is doing something. He's saying there's new laws if you assault a shopkeeper. That is good, isn't it?
That's good, yeah.
And facial recognition, I know, is a bit squiffy for a lot of people. More electronic tagging. I mean, is he actually doing the right thing, though?
He is doing the right thing, but like I say, Patrick, it's 2024 and we're struggling with shoplifters. Like I say, these aren't criminal masterminds. These are low-life, rubbish that's, walking up and down our streets, looking for the local co-op or whatever it is, happens to be a co-op in my neck of the woods, just go in, take the stuff, terrorise the staff and walk out with the stuff, and the police turn up 2 days later.
There's obviously no real fear of getting caught.
No, none at all.
I mean, that's pretty clear, really, when you see the amount of... I mean, you don't do it, do you? If you...
And the only time shoplifting actually falls in my area, Patrick, is when these thieves are in prison.
Well, I suppose there you go. That's one solution for it, isn't it? We'd have to build more prisons, only. Now, look, the William Ragg honey trap scandal has rocked Westminster in recent days, and Rishi Sunak has today said that Ragg was right to apologise after the disgraced MP admitting leaking his colleague's contact details to a stranger he met on a gay dating app called Grindr. Now, Lee, I understand that you have something to say. It's not, by the way, I believe, anything to do with Grindr, but you've had an interaction of your own with blackmail, have you? Or something?
Yeah, I've had a few, actually, Patrick. But one that springs to my mind is, I think it was January last year, where I had this random email from a so-called lady saying that she'd got a videotape of me and it was worth my while to go and meet her at this pub at a particular time and to bring loads of cash or something like that in exchange for this videotape. I've got it on the screen.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to read this out in case anyone's listening on radio or whatever. It says, "Dear Lee, I have a video recording that may be, what's that, of interest to you." There you go. So there you go. And it gives you a certain date and a time to turn up. So there you go. Kind regards. Obviously, we've blurred out all the relevant names, probably fake names anyway.
Yes.
But anyway, we've blurred them out nonetheless. So that was sent to you. So what happened?
Well, I just looked at it. I thought, well, have somebody got a video of me? You don't know what's happened in your, a long time ago in your past when you've had a few too many. I don't know. But I've always said since day one, because there's lots of traps out there in Parliament for MPs, I always said I would never succumb to blackmail, so I just send it to the local police inspector. He got onto it. They tried to trace the IP address, but they couldn't for some particular reason. But I never turned up at the pub, and I didn't turn up with a wad of cash. And I think the moral of the story is you cannot give in to blackmail.
And the other moral of the story is this stuff clearly happens quite a lot. I mean, we've seen countless journalists or members of Parliament, etc., say that they were approached. I would argue that's quite a crude way of approaching somebody. A vague thing about a video recording. You're turning up with a bag full of cash to this particular thing. I mean, they would have had to have got up a lot earlier in the morning to catch you out on that one. But it just shows, I would argue maybe, how daft William Ragg was with all of this.
He has been incredibly daft. I mean, I've said repeatedly over the past week or so that, what he wants to do in his private life is none of my concern. He can get up to whatever he wants. But I think the thing that disturbed me most was the fact that he gave phone numbers away of colleagues and then left them open to be blackmailed. And that's sort of throwing your mates under a bus to save your own skin. It's not a good look.
Well, what did you make of the handling of that? Because, Rishi Sunak has said he was right to apologise. Jeremy Hunt initially called him courageous.
Yeah.
And look, hey, OK, now then William Ragg has decided to remove himself of the whip and everything else. What do you make of the actual handling of that? I mean, the narrative, you take the Tories out of it, what do you make of the narrative that somebody who has done that could be classed as courageous?
It's funny, isn't it, Patrick? Because when I made some comments a month or so ago about Mayor Khan, I was called an Islamophobe and kicked out the party. And I think William's done something foolish and far worse than what I did and has been called courageous. So you make your own mind up about the process.
Just seem to be very, very slight double standards there. Some would say, wouldn't they? But Lee, thank you very, very much for your time, as ever. That is Lee Anderson of Reform UK.